All right, so I thought I'd jump on here and try and answer some of the most common questions that seem to be popping up with all friends and family who, haven't really been doing the seminars and things like that. But, people are asking what are my options. And everyone's jumping to, just get a kidney transplant. And look, I'll dive into that in another video, but I'll just try and make this one as simple as possible. Basically, I have 4 options. Option 1 is that I do everything I possibly can to increase my kidney function, and that's basically just continuing on with life and just monitoring my water, make sure I'm drinking water, make sure I'm eating healthy, avoiding fast foods, just doing everything possible within my blood work to try and make sure that it maintains a stable function. So I'm currently increasing. What I need to find out is what my flat line is. So, well, not flat line as in dead, but flat line as in what is my function at its peak and consistent level. Once I know that, and then hopefully I can do my best to maintain that. Now, if that gets up into maybe like the 30% range, if that's possible, there's a possibility that I might be able to live and keep that at 30% for maybe 40 years. There's nothing saying that I can't do that. Maybe 40 years plus. Is that likely? Unknown. Could it be only 10? Very possibly. Could it only be 2? Possibly. Could it be 1? Yeah, possibly. There are no real answers. Everybody is completely different. I'm hoping for the best case scenario. Now, with that, once you get below 20, which is what I've already been, below 20, the hospitals advise that you start doing the seminars and doing workups for possible kidney transplant. So you get all your information as to what your body type is, all your blood's done, heart scans, bone mass density scans, a whole lot of testing, right? So that they know everything about your body in particular. So I've done a lot of that now. I've only got the bone density scan left and I'm pretty much all done. But kidney transplant there's a couple of different options. One is you can find your own kidney, which is what they recommend. And the other option is you go on the deceased donor list. Now, to be on the deceased donor list, you need to have been on dialysis first. So they won't allow you to basically get on the kidney transplant list. This is in Australia, on the kidney transplant list until you've been on dialysis. And then it sort of works sort of like a numbering system. So whoever's been on it the longest, and look, some people may have been on it for 10, 15 years and are on dialysis and have been on dialysis for 10, 15 years. So they're more likely to get a kidney that's going to pop up. This depends on blood types and what's available. But at the same time, so much comes into it is they want to make sure that the person who's getting the kidney or receiving the kidney gets the best and most suitable kidney for them first, because the first transplant is generally the best one. So say someone's been on the list longer than me, but the kidney that's come through doesn't match or isn't suitable for them, you can possibly get a kidney earlier than, say, that other person. It all depends on everybody's body types and all their individual bloods and what other sorts of issues they have and things like that. So I have found out that I'm actually O positive, which unfortunately for me is on the long wait list, which they say 5 years plus. So when they say 5 years, and you hear of people who've been on dialysis for 10 to 15, even longer, it makes you wonder, they're just saying a 5+ to make you feel better? I don't know. So basically, in terms of that, my best options is to try and find my own kidney. Otherwise, I have to be on dialysis first. And at what point do I end up on dialysis? I'm not sure. It's as I slowly decline and I get below 10%. Now, the thing with that is that once you get below 20%, you need to start looking at options for dialysis. And really there's 2 options to make it simple. One is peritoneal dialysis and the other one is home hemodialysis. And basically peritoneal dialysis is where they insert a tube into your stomach lining, which is a permanent access to your stomach lining. And then you've got to transfer fluid into your body cavity and then remove fluid from your body cavity. And then there's so many different options for that. Again, you can go into hospital and have it done. You can do it at home, which is what they recommend. It's as simple as you have this little tube and you can disconnect it, and then you hook a bag up, connect the tube, and then have another tube which is a drain bag. So you have a fill bag and a drain bag. If you do it manually with like a coat hanger to sort of hold it up, it takes about half an hour to 40 minutes. You've got to do that 4 times a day. Now, there's another option, which is same, peritoneal dialysis, but you have like an exchange machine. That machine basically does those exchanges for you with a pump style system. And you can do it overnight, so you don't have to do it throughout the day. You can do it overnight, wake up in the morning, the machine drains your bag. You can cap your little system off, put your little belt around your stomach, and go about your day. Pretty much come home at the end of the day, have your shower, have dinner, and then you're going to be sitting on the machine. You got no options but to sit in bed or read a book or something, go to sleep, and it'll do those exchanges whilst you sleep. Then you wake up in the morning and you go again. Now you got to do that every day. That depends on the scenario. So I think, to be honest, it would be every day. The other option is the home hemodialysis. Again, you can do this at a hospital. Now, with this option, you have your own machine, and it's basically like a blood transfusion filter. It's got to be connected to your home. You've got to have almost like your own designated room. You've got to have it hooked up to water. It's got all its own special filters, and you have a needle in your arm and a needle out of your arm. For this to be possible, first you have to undergo a surgery to have a fistula put in, it ends up with like basically 2 lumps, which is an in and an out on your arm, and you end up with pretty decent scar. You'll have that there forever. The needles are quite big, sort of like a blood test, but more intense. And then these veins on your arms are more like main arteries now, so you sort of got to be careful with them that you don't nick them or damage them when you're working or doing something like that. Now, this machine takes about an hour to set up. You have it in your home. It runs all these self-diagnostic tests, but you've got to sort of put it into the system to get it to do that. It's got to be connected to the home. It takes about an hour to do the pre-workup on that machine. Then depending on, again, on your individual person in terms of blood types and stuff, that may take 6 to 8 hours to be on that machine. The benefit is that you only have to do that sort of every second day. And if like you're on a really good case scenario, maybe only every third day. And another positive to that is that when you pull them out and you sort of compress them and stop them from bleeding, you don't really have any open wounds to your body. So the likelihood of getting infections from something is sort of a lot less likely. But the downside to it is that if you do get an infection, it's not like a bug or a surface infection which can go into the stomach. It's a blood infection. So with the one in the stomach, the peritoneal, you can possibly get an infection from, sweating, dirt, some sort of bug. You touch it on your hands, you touch the opening, and you can possibly get an infection. You can take antibiotics to help heal those pretty quickly, but the infection is generally less of an infection than, say, a blood infection. If you get a blood infection, you're in pretty serious trouble. But again, they have stuff that can fix that. The downside with the peritoneal, which is the tube one into the stomach and the bags, that tube gets inserted into your stomach, and then your skin sort of heals around it. And then that tube goes down into your bowel area. So for that tube to work correctly, you've got to have laxatives pretty much daily to stop the bowel from creating any blockage to that tube or squashing the tube so that the tube can function correctly. So not only do you have a tube in your stomach that you've got to pump fluid into your body 4 times a day manually or overnight for 8 to 10 hours with a small pump machine, you also have to take laxatives, which can make life pretty difficult. The benefit of the peritoneal, again, I'll just say the tube one in the stomach with the bags, is that it is portable. You can take the machine and you can take your bags with you if you want to stay in a cabin, or if you've got a caravan or something and you've got power. You can do that overnight. You can take the bags with you. The machine is sort of like 3 or 4 laptops stuck on top of each other. So it's not too big. And the bags, are reasonably portable. I'm assuming you'd probably only be going away for 2-3 days, but it makes it pretty easy. Swimming is quite difficult with it because you've got to sort of seal up around the area. It is possible, but not advised. So that's that one. The home hemodialysis, look, you can't take that anywhere. That's a permanent fixture in your home. The good thing is it is only every 2 to possibly 3 days apart, for less time, 6 to 8 hours, depending on individual scenario again. There's no opening to your body apart from having to have the surgery in the arm for those tubes to be connected. You do have to be able to give yourself those needles every couple of days to do the transfer. You can literally see the blood coming out of your body and going into your body. You do have to learn how to use the machine, look after it, clean filters and do all that sort of stuff. But pretty much once you get that, you are stuck to home. The other thing that they don't mention too much is the one with the tube, the peritoneal. Now, again, this is depending on individual scenarios, but And a lot of people choose this because I don't know why people choose this, to be honest. I think it's less scary than seeing the blood coming out of your body and going into your body through this little R2D2 machine, which is, pretty scary. But they say that its average lifespan for you to be able to live with that is around 5 years. Now, there are some people who have been on it for 10 to 15, but they say the average is around 5. So if you chose that option, and you are on a longer waiting list, and they say, oh, look, like, that's the better option because if you manage to get a transplant in that time, they just pull the tube out and you just have like a little scar on your stomach, and that's it. You don't have this big scar on your arm, which a lot of people don't really like. The downside to it is that your stomach lining might basically wear out after about 5 years. And once that happens, you don't really have any option. You've got to have the fistula installed in your arm, and you've got to go on the other machine. So, they're the two options in terms of dialysis. And you need to, again, like I said, for the kidney transplant, if it's from a deceased donor, you need to be on dialysis first, and possibly up to 5+ years on dialysis. So you've got to make a choice as to which one you want to do, and they have to be chosen and done. Basically, you've got to have the surgery for the tube or the surgery for the fistula before you get to the point where you need dialysis. So as they start to monitor your bloods, and if you start to decline, you need to make a choice on what option you want to do. And that's the hard decision for me, trying to figure that one out yet. With the little R2D2 unit, blood transfusion, home hemodialysis, I can still surf. So because like if I go on it and put it in my arm, once that, I pull the needles out and I've compressed it and it stops bleeding, which takes about 10 to 15 minutes. Essentially after that, I should be able to go surfing, and I can, go on a camping trip or something for a weekend and then come back and do it again, So to me, that's sort of almost looking like the better option. Downside is it's not so portable, but if you go overseas and stuff, you can book hospitals to just go in and book the hospital to go and sit on one of those machines for 6 to 8 hours if you're overseas or something like that. Doesn't sound exciting to me, but yeah, that's that option. I don't like the idea of having something in my stomach constantly. And, basically the possibilities of infections and taking laxatives, and depending on what sort of work I'm doing at that time is going to be difficult to navigate. Like, something like that getting caught doing what I do all the time is highly likely. So, because you're always carrying things and resting things on your stomach and on your legs, and you'll be forever pulling that tube out, or causing yourself some grief. So not really sure on that one. The next one is, living donor kidney transplant. So that is a possibility, but you do need to find your own kidney really, and that's what they recommend, is trying to find your own kidney through friends, family, relatives, someone who's going to offer you up their kidney. The same thing happens with that. It's not like they're just gonna, okay, we've found a match and we're just going to do the kidney transplant now. That's not how it works. Basically, you've got to find a few people, they do all the testing, if it comes back that it's a match, they do further testing, and then they just, once they've got a couple of donors, or to get a couple is amazing, but if you can just get one, then from there, you've basically got to just monitor. They keep monitoring you and the donor until, I start to decline to a point where they're like, okay, this needs to be done. And then at that point, you can sort of pre-organize to have your kidney transplant prior to going on dialysis, so you can skip the dialysis, which sounds great, and look, is the best option really for the most normal life. It does come with a lot of risk for the donor and for the recipient. It's a lot more for the recipient, because essentially putting a foreign body into your body, and you have to take a lot of medications to stop your body rejecting that, and to basically stop your body from building up antibodies towards it. So the downsides to that is some of the medications that they give you, if you get a scratch or a cut or dirt in something, or you get sick, or a cold or a virus or something like that, your body can't naturally produce antibodies, because the pills that you are taking stop your body from doing that. Because if your body could do that, it would reject the kidney. So you're more susceptible to cancers, skin cancers, bowel cancers, infections, all these sorts of things from taking all those pills. Not to mention, I don't even know what the side effects of those pills would be. Either way, on all of them, you've got to take a lot of pills, which is not amazing. But look, that's the only options I've got. So yeah, there's hopefully some of the questions answered. I can go into a lot more detail on each individual scenario, but that's just trying to do it in the most brief scenario I can possibly come up with. There is just so much more detail to each individual scenario. So yeah, look, hopefully that answers a few of your questions, and gives you a little bit more of an insight as to what those options are. I'd love to hear your suggestions as to what you think. I'm personally thinking the little R2D2 would be the go, but the hard thing is I just never know when this is going to happen. So this could be in 10 years, it could be in 2 years, it could be in 40 years. So that scenario is going to change for me depending on time frame and life as it's going on. So yeah, look, they're the options, and yeah, hopefully that answers a few questions, and yeah, hopefully you can help me make a decision. But yeah, see how we go.